Module Overview: Land is one of the most regulated resources globally, and in the context of acquisition, understanding the legal framework and statutory compliance is a foundational requirement for any successful transaction or development. This module explores the complex legal, institutional, and policy-driven landscape that governs land ownership, acquisition, control, and use. In most countries, including Nigeria and other jurisdictions, land acquisition involves a dynamic interplay between customary rights, statutory entitlements, governmental interests, private sector players, and community stakeholders. Failing to understand or comply with these requirements can lead to litigation, financial loss, project delays, community resistance, or outright cancellation of development plans. 1. Understanding land tenure systems. Definition and classification of land tenure. Customary, statutory, leasehold, freehold. Influence of colonial history and traditional authorities on landholding structures. Urban versus rural tenure differences, gender dimensions of land rights and access. 2. Overview of the Nigerian Land Use Act, 1978. Key provisions and interpretation. Vesting of land in the governor of each state right of occupancy. Customary and statutory powers of the governor to allocate, revoke, or regularize land limitations on transfer, alienation, and assignment without consent. Criticisms and calls for reform. 3. Statutory requirements for land acquisition. Step-by-step guide to acquiring land, application for land allocation land survey, and beaconing obtaining the right of occupancy, R of O, governor's consent for land transfer. Title documentation and registration documentation checklist, deed of assignment certificate of occupancy C of O Gazette survey plan tax clearance power of attorney. 4. Land registration and titling systems. Importance of secure land titles. Traditional versus modern registration systems, role of land registries, deeds registries, and geographic information systems, LAGS, AGIS, etc. Benefits of digital land administration. Common title challenges, double allocation, overlapping claims, forged documents. 5. Due diligence and verification protocols. Conducting search at land registry, verifying seller identity and ownership history, checking for encumbrances, mortgages, liens, court injunctions, investigating zoning regulations and planning status, authenticating land survey plans and legal description of boundaries. 6. Public acquisition and compensation. Government powers under eminent domain, process of compulsory acquisition, fair compensation assessment market value, disturbance allowance, relocation resettlement. Legal redress and grievance procedures, land use allocation committees and their role. 7. Urban and regional planning laws. Town planning authorities and building permit requirements, compliance with master plans, structure plans, and layout plans, site approval, development control, setbacks, and land use designations, penalties for illegal developments or encroachment. 8. Environmental and social legal safeguards. Environmental Impact Assessment Act, Environmental Management Plans, EMP, as legal tools, Resettlement Action Plans, RAPS, and stakeholder consultation, land acquisition in protected areas or cultural heritage sites. 9. Institutional stakeholders in land governance. Role of Ministry of Lands and Housing Surveyor, General's Office, Bureau of Lands, State and Local Government Land Allocation Committees. Customary courts and traditional rulers, Land Use and Allocation Committees, LUAC. 10. Land dispute resolution and legal remedies. Causes of land disputes, boundary conflict, double sale, fraud, inheritance issues, dispute resolution mechanisms, alternative dispute resolution, ADR land tribunals, court litigation, customary resolution, landmark legal cases and precedents, importance of legal representation and documentation. Learning outcomes. By the end of this module, you will be able to interpret and apply key provisions of the Land Use Act and relevant planning laws, understand the land acquisition process from legal and statutory perspectives, differentiate between various land titles and documentation, conduct due diligence before engaging in land transactions, navigate institutional requirements and legal channels for secure acquisition, anticipate and mitigate legal risks associated with land ownership.